Hey everybody, thanks for watching. The disciples of Jesus acknowledged his miracles, but so did his enemies. Even the enemies of Jesus had to acknowledge the many great works that he was doing. The miracles could not be denied. This was the scenario that plays out in Matthew chapter 12, starting in verse 22. Then one was brought to him who was demon-possessed, blind and mute. And he healed him, so that the blind and mute man both spoke and saw. And all the multitudes were amazed and said, "Could this be the son of David?" Now, when the Pharisees heard it, they said, "This fellow does not cast out demons except by Beelzebub, the ruler of the demons." The Pharisees, these violent opponents of Jesus, could not and did not deny the miracles of Jesus. Their only hope was to ascribe these works to some other spiritual power besides God. 300 years later, nothing changed. The enemies of Christ continued to diminish his works, but they could not deny his works. An example of this is a Roman emperor of the 4th century who is now called Julian the Apostate. He hated Christ, he hated Christians, and in this section I'm going to read, he is mocking the Jews who converted to Christianity. Speaking to the Jews, this is what he said, "But now it has come to pass that like leeches, you have sucked the worst blood from that source and left the purer. Yet Jesus, who won over the least worthy of you, has been known by name for little more than 300 years, and during his lifetime he accomplished nothing worthy of hearing of, unless anyone thinks that to heal crooked and blind men and to exorcise those who were possessed by evil demons in the villages of Bethsaida and Bethany can be classed as a mighty achievement." So he mocks the Jews and mocks Jesus, but in these insults he seems to admit the miracles of Jesus. He acknowledged that Jesus healed the lame, the blind, and the demon-possessed. He doesn't deny these works. He just claims that these works were insignificant. Other enemies of Jesus took the same approach. As Christianity was spreading in the early centuries, rabbinic Jews, who were also enemies of Jesus, created and circulated their own versions of the life of Jesus. These were counter-histories designed to turn the Jews away from Christ, but they still offer some validation of the life of Christ. For an example, a document from the Babylonian Talmud from the 4th century or possibly earlier provides a rebuttal to the trial and crucifixion of Jesus as described in the Bible. Here's what this document says. "On the eve of the Passover, Yeshua the Nazarene was hanged. For 40 days before the execution took place, a herald went forth and cried, 'He is going forth to be stoned because he has practiced sorcery and enticed Israel to apostasy. Anyone who can say anything in his favor, let him come and plead on his behalf.' And since nothing was brought forward in his favor, he was hanged on the eve of Passover." The real story about Jesus with an illegal trial taking place in the middle of the night was a bad look for the Jews. So this story was circulated to save face, but interestingly, it confirms his supernatural abilities and his crucifixion. So rather than calling Jesus a fraud, they call him a sorcerer. A different document, a satire from the 6th century called Toldet Yeshu, contains some of the oral traditions of Jesus that were getting circulated through Jewish communities. Here's how it reads in one place. Yeshu proclaimed, "I am the Messiah. And concerning me, Isaiah prophesied and said, 'Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel.'" He quoted other messianic texts insisting, "David, my ancestor, prophesied concerning me. The Lord said to me, 'Thou art my son, this day I have begotten thee.'" The insurgents with him replied that if Yeshu was the Messiah, he should give them a convincing sign. They therefore brought to him a lame man who had never walked. Yeshu spoke over the man the letters of the ineffable name, and the leper was healed. Thereupon they worshipped him as the Messiah, Son of the Highest. Later in the same satire, a story is related about an interaction between Jesus and a fictional Queen Helen. Here's how it reads. Queen Helen asked the sages what he says. "Is it in your Torah?" They replied, "It is in our Torah, but it is not applicable to him, for it is in Scripture, that the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. He has not fulfilled the signs and conditions of the Messiah." Yeshu spoke up, "Madam, I am the Messiah, and I revive the dead." A dead body was brought in. He pronounced the letters of the ineffable name, and the corpse came to life. The queen was greatly moved and said, "This is a true sign." She reprimanded the sages and sent them humiliated from her presence. Yeshu's dissident followers increased, and there was controversy in Israel. These stories are strange and obviously fictional. They are attacks on Jesus. They are not gospels or evangelistic in any way, except Even these antagonistic fictional stories still acknowledge Jesus as having divine gifts. I think it's an unintentional validation of the real gospel of Jesus. Even the enemies of Jesus did not deny his supernatural benevolence because it would have been obvious to everyone that they were lying. So, even the enemies of Jesus accepted his supernatural works. Thanks for watching.